As a finance professional in a disrupted business landscape, what does it take to be in demand? What does it take to attract great paying international roles? If you're an ICAN member, it'll just take one exam. That's all it takes to complete the globally recognized SEMA professional qualification and the internationally respected CGMA designation. As a SEMA member and a CGMA designation holder, employers will look at you as a finance professional, constantly acquiring new skills to add value to the business. That's why they'll be willing to pay premium to hire and retain you. If you have 5 years of relevant experience and are an ICAN member, you can directly sit for the final exam of the SEMA Professional Qualification, the Strategic Case Study exam. Start studying the SEMA Professional Qualification. Prepare to make an impact.
Behind every great leader, that we always say that there's always a great tale of success, and you'll find an indispensable circle of trusted advisors, you find mentors, you find colleagues, and they always say that the delicate balance of mentoring someone is not creating them in your own image, but it's by giving them the opportunity to create themselves. I'll say good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to my dear colleagues. It's so great to have you all here today. Today being the 18th of April 2024, we'll be discussing the topic leadership and mentorship for professional excellence. You know that very topic is very important. That topic is very important for our daily lives. And our special guest for today is Mr. Cyril Azobo, FCA partner, PwC Nigeria. We'd like to go on a commercial break and we'll be back with our guests. And remember to call a friend, to call a colleague to join the topic for today. Everyone needs to listen to this topic on leadership and mentorship. So please get your colleagues, get your friends together and let them listen to ICAN-ngr today. My name is Fumi Olani and it's great to be here again. We'll be right back after the break.
As a finance professional in a disrupted business landscape, what does it take to be in demand? What does it take to attract great paying international roles? If you're an ICAN member, it'll just take one exam. That's all it takes to complete the globally recognized SEMA professional qualification and the internationally respected CGMA designation. As a SEMA member and a CGMA designation holder, employers will look at you as a finance professional, constantly acquiring new skills to add value to the business. That's why they'll be willing to pay premium to hire and retain you. If you have 5 years of relevant experience and are an ICAN member, you can directly sit for the final exam of the SEMA Professional Qualification, the Strategic Case Study exam. Start studying the SEMA Professional Qualification. Prepare to make an impact.
You're welcome back to ICAN-ngr today, the 19th day of 2024, April. We're glad to be here again. And I mentioned before the break that we have an erudite scholar in the studio, and he's going to be telling us everything about leadership and mentorship. And his name is Mr. Cyril Azobo. I'm just going to take his profile so you know the guest we have in the studio today. He is a partner with PwC Nigeria, and he has over 28 years of experience covering business advisory, consulting, accounting, external and internal auditing, and taxation services for companies with and within public and private sectors of Nigeria. His experience spans forensic, business recovery services, multiple consulting competencies such as technology, expertise, architecture, and PMO support infrastructure and capital projects, all for Nigeria and organization-wide transformation. Mr. Cyril holds a BSc in biology and an MSc in botany from the University of Lagos, respectively. He is happily married to Adepukola Azobu for 24 years, and they are blessed with a daughter, Kenny, and a son, Femi. Yes, we expose you because we want everyone to understand what it means to be a leader and what it means to be a mentor. You're very welcome to the studio today, Mr. Cyril.
Thanks so much for me. And yeah, thanks for exposing me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
28 years experience. Yes, we have a good one in the studio today. We can all ask our questions from every level, from the home front. You want to be a leader and a mentor, even at work, is going to be here to answer all of those questions. I wouldn't do that. He will do that. So, Mr. Cyril, I would like to perhaps ask you, people confuse what a leader is and what a mentor is. But the most fulfilled professionals are the beneficiaries of leaders and mentor. So I want to ask you today that what is a professional, what would you regard as professional excellence, and how can it be achieved in the workplace?
Thank you so much for me. Yes, you're right. I have been a beneficiary for over 28 years of leadership development and mentorship. I started my career, which was 5 years after leaving school. So you can add to that, and you know how long I've been post graduating. But what really transformed my life really has been the first few years of my career at PwC, really learning from others and growing, in that process. And from the day you start to add value to yourself. So you're building competencies, your aptitude, your attitude also is being shaped, and you're working under defined values. And so that within that context puts together what excellence really is about, and that is really being the best that you can, and being the best within the context of developing your aptitude, your skills, your competence within a competency area, a subject matter area, or within a professional area. And you're also developing the right attitudes of relationship, soft skills that help you achieve that value and add value to the people around you. So in a nutshell, professional excellence is being the best that you can be in your profession, in your career. And for me, specifically as an accountant, being the best that I can be, not just in the profession of accounting, but also generally as a person, being excellent in everything that you do. So that's really, for me, my understanding of professional excellence.
Okay, thank you so much. But riding on that answer that you gave now, so how can I then say, how can I define who qualifies to be called a leader and who qualifies to be called a mentor? And if you run, we have global audience here, we have local audience. I mean, my colleagues, every one of them across the world, they are all here listening. So how would you say the similarities of mentorship and leadership, what cuts across both words in your own opinion, sir?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because a lot of people kind of interchange the use of those words, and it sometimes comes unclear what exactly they mean. A leader is basically someone who inspires others towards a specific goal. So you've got a goal. So from an organizational perspective, and within that context, you are directing, you're motivating, you are someone who actually points everyone towards achieving that goal. So you're setting clear objectives and motivating and inspiring everyone to achieve that goal. On the other hand, a mentor is an experienced person who may not necessarily come within an organizational context, but really what the person is doing is directing or really supporting the individual or guiding the mentee in this case towards personal development. So two key things. So within the context of an organization, a leader focuses on organizational goals, while the mentor focuses on the development of the personal and development goals of that individual. So the leader looks in a broader context of the organization, and the mentor looks at the personal development of that individual broadly. And you would think of a leader as someone who, operates within a very structured environment, is after achieving those goals, he sets the goals, he gives the direction. A mentor is, and of course, he works within a a somewhat controlled, environment, and of course, even mentorship is controlled. But then a mentor is more informal. It looks at it, from a broader perspective and building the skills that are required of an individual within a subject matter area based on his experience and towards a less experienced person.
Okay, interesting. So I hope all of our audience are listening because we all mix it up sometimes. But I also know that there are some leadership styles and mentoring pillars that professionals should actually build. They should know. So can you just let us know some of those leadership styles and the mentoring pillars that we should know?
There are quite a number of leadership styles, and I personally have gone through training that kind of helped me discover my own styles. Everybody has his own preferences, but broadly you would have leaders that are collaborative in nature, leaders that are autocratic in nature, authoritative in nature. You have leaders that are democratic, or leaders that would delegate. You have, within that context, you have other types of leadership like transformational leadership, leaders that are focused towards change, the future, and transformation generally, and believing in the people and then helping them through the optimizing what their potentials are and delivering optimal value towards change and transformation. But one of the things that comes very clear to me in one of the early day training that I had, in developing my leadership skills and my leadership potential, really is around what I call what is called the SDI, the Strength Deployment Inventory, which kind of codifies in color what various forms of leaders are. So you've got the altruistic, nurturing leader, which is coded blue, and you've got the red, who are the assertive, and directing leaders. You've got the greens, who are those who are analytic. And also you have the hub, which is flexible and is able to carry everyone along. And you find that within all of this, nothing differentiates one from another. It's actually understanding your style and where your preferences really are. And it's a situation of within the context that you lead would generally determine the style that you deploy, around that context. But when you then also talk about, mentorship, I think for me, a pillar becomes strong. I mean, if you look at pillars of leadership, you beyond the styles, you're also thinking things around, vision. A leader must have vision. A leader must must have integrity, and all of those characteristics that actually form and build a leader. But when you look at mentorship, you have to also look at it within the context of an intentionality. And a lot of the times people think of mentorship as something that is informal, and you might say, oh, this man is my mentor. You've never met him before, you've never seen him before, and you say he's your mentor. Mentorship is not like that. Mentorship is actually a contact experience that you have, and to make mentorship work, it has to be intentional and from within an organizational context. And one of the reasons, one of the things that I've seen that makes that program work is that one, it is from above. So there is that tone at the top. So it is the leadership that drives that. And people who are experienced within the organization that assigns it, they have a clear plan, and it's a strategic program that is run with a whole lot of intentionality. And it comes with identifying, and other pillar would be, the proper match between the mentor and the mentee. So you're looking at people who are fit. So what is the need, for example? What is the skills or the competence or the area that the mentee needs development on? And you're finding who is best suited to support that person in building that skill and competency. And so that matching becomes very critical. So if you look at an accountant, for example, within an organization, you would say maybe the CFO or the finance inclined person would be the best person to mentor him. But that may not be the best approach, because that same person may be good, from a finance and accounting skills, but it needs more than that. Beyond just finance and accounting skills, it needs to be developed towards being a leader. And in doing that, maybe it's not the CFO that needs to mentor him. Maybe it's someone who may also need to help him with the communication skills and all of that. So it's defining what the need of that mentee is, and also finding the right person within the organization that would be assigned to him. Of course, It also thrives within the context of training and proper training for both mentors and mentees in such a way that the mentor understands what is required of him and how you can guide, how you can coach, how you can build the capacities of that individual and help him to build those competencies out, whether it's soft skill or it's within a specific aptitude or competency area. What you're generally talking about, and annexing your own broad skills and experience to guide that person through that process. So there are quite a number of pillars that support it and to make that mentoring program successful. And some others would be things like defining what the outcomes are. You can't just undergo a mentoring program without knowing what should be the outcome. Where are we heading towards this? Even though the leader will set goals, but the mentor also looks at outcomes and it's looking at broader ways. So what are we going to get? How do we get measurement that this is working, that we're achieving our goals and not just going on a wild goose chase? And so with other things around supporting that program, so all of the processes and systems within the organization to help support that program, whether it has to do with policies around the mentoring program, the technology, the tools that you need to make that work, all of that are critical in ensuring that the mentoring process works. So within the leadership and mentoring, process within an organization, there are quite a number of things that need to be done. And for me, what is critical is intentionality and making this work within that organizational context.
Yes, I heard you loud and clear. You have to be intentional when you're mentoring, and leader must also it dovetails from the leader. Yes. So interesting perception that you have. So, there's a school of thought that believes that leaders are actually born, while there's another school of thought that believes that leaders are made. We all say it, but there's also a third school of thought that says that leaders are born and are made at the same time. As a leadership coach, Mr. Cyril, and you're also a mentor for 28 years, which school of thought is right and what are your reasons?
I think it's actually safe to say both, when you hang in between the two, but I'm a firm believer that leaders are made. The reason people sometimes say leaders are born is that they just look at people's personality traits. And they say because the person is assertive, is an extrovert, is likely to lead, but that doesn't necessarily make you a leader. I've always been an introvert. I'm shy, by nature. But when it comes to delivering value, delivering results, I'm not really that shy. And really, what has made that work is that my years over time have actually brought out the best in me. And one of the things, particularly in the practice and based on my experience, my early years, really would see that people who are aggressive, people who have of course you need gravitas and all of that, but people who are assertive and all of that are seen to be the leader, right? Yes, that may be a good trait of the leader, but it doesn't necessarily mean that because you are quote a red. I define some of the leadership styles. A red, somebody who is assertive, who gets things done, who is task driven and all of that. You might think that is the leader. However, there's just someone there who is just a people person, who is a blue, who is altruistic, who is nurturing, right? You find that person might be more developmental oriented, while the other one may be goal oriented. So if you look at, a red would make a more leader and a blue may make a better mentor, but it all depends on the situation. And your ability to understand your leadership style would help you, go over and beyond what your blind spots are. People just feel that once I drive everybody and get them done, things are not what they used to be, my dear. So if you look at, today's work environment, before it used to be the employer, he dictates the tone, but today it's shifted. So if you don't understand employee mentality, you don't understand the changes, global changes, across the workplace, you're not likely to be a good leader once you stick to a style. So understanding yourself, being self-aware and being able to, understand the kind of people that you have, because not everyone would be would want to go his own way. Not every other person or not would want to, allow him to give him all the. Of course, you give people opportunities. Not everyone would want to be handheld, but people, have different learning styles, developmental needs and preferences, and your understanding of people's developmental needs and preferences helps you to then know what kind of leadership traits that you'll apply. There's no one leadership style that is the best. Even though I like transformational leadership, but sometimes you might just want to be authoritative and then put your foot on the ground and say, this is what needs to be done. And sometimes you may need to democratize your style depending on that situation. So if you say, I was born and you can't be everything, you can't be both assertive and as you can be both extrovert and also an introvert. You can be both altruistic and nurturing and also be someone who is directing and assertive. So you have to then develop those skills and how to then adapt your style in such a way that you meet the needs of that moment. So it is developmental. All through my career, I've been going through leadership and I've had to change and reinvent myself over and over again. So it's a journey, and you have to develop yourself. There's no leader, to my mind, that is born. You only develop. There are definitely potential leadership potentials across board. Everybody can be a leader. Anyone born can be a leader. But the question is, how do you then transform somebody from your natural state to the leader that you can be? That is a development. Otherwise, there will be no developmental leadership.
All right. I mean, what I grabbed from what you've said is you have to be born and be made, right? Yeah, obviously. Because, of course, you've told us about the trend, how you move from being an introvert and then now you can be more assertive and even more out there than you were before. Well, interesting conversation. Thank you so much. It's still ICAN-ngr, and today we're discussing leadership and mentorship for professional excellence. We all want to be excellent in all we do. So remember to call a friend to join this topic today. And we are here today. Get your questions together, and Mr. Cyril Azodo will take all the questions. FCA. When I look through your profile, and as a Nigerian and a celebrated fellow of our dear institute, to what extent will you say leadership and mentorship aids the professional excellence of chartered accountants?
Absolutely, it does to the best extent possible. And for me, as an accountant, it's not just the skill of accounting that makes you an accountant. And one of the things that I've enjoyed from my days of writing the professional exams is that it's broad. It goes beyond just the technical context of an accountant. And for me, working in practice has also shown that even though you're practicing, but you are a complete leader. You're actually demonstrating and building that over time through your interactions and work with people. So as an accountant, you're either in industry, you're in practice, or you are, places where you implement or you actually discharge your accounting role. You are going to be working with people. You are going to have a team. You are going to be delivering on results. You are going to have targets. You're relevant. And in fact, what the adoption of, say, IFRS, for example, within accounting has brought the accounting, kind of changed the landscape and moved it from the back office to the front office. It's moved you to a point where actually you're directing. Your skills are required in making business decisions. So as an accountant, you're actually also potentially a business leader. And your ability to develop those leadership skills are the things that make you relevant in things and things to come. So your relevance within an organization is actually accentuated by your leadership skills and your ability to build others. And what makes the next generation continue to enjoy accounting is because someone in an older generation is passing those skills and those behaviors and attitudes to the next generation. So there is that coaching, there's that mentoring you require to continue to sustain the values that have been held by our founding fathers over the years. So without that leadership and mentorship, there's no handing over. There is no sustainable. There's no transition to the next generation. There is no you can't talk about accounting in the future. So our profession actually rests on leadership and people who would continue to handhold and direct and instruct and mentor and people to ensuring that we become better and the next generation becomes better and better. This is what mentorship and leadership provides and offers our profession.
In fact, while you were speaking, I just wanted to mention that more than a year now, the Institute actually launched the Young Accountants Committee. So that is actually well said, because we want to carry all the generations along, so it doesn't feel like, oh, there's old people. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, as a Nigerian, and I know you're a business coach, we've seen your videos, we've seen all the platforms that you've been able to educate people about what you believe in. Can you give us a fair and objective assessment of the effort of the Nigerian professionals, especially the chartered accountants, in exploring some of the tools of leadership and mentorship? Because we just don't want it to be almost theoretical. How can accountants boost their professional opportunities and the excellence that they have? What tools can they use?
Okay, I think that as accountants, I like the fact that you don't just qualify to be a chartered accountant. There's continuous improvement. There is mandatory professional development, and people often have a platform to learn and use new knowledge, experience, and all of that. I think that even within our profession, we've got sufficient and robust, I think it's fairly robust, frameworks that help the accountants to build that relevance. And if you look at your relevance in society, it cannot be overemphasized. A lot of successful business people today were primarily accountants. And you then look at the broad skills that an accountant owns. And those skills do not just keep you as, quote, an accountant. You are actually relevant within the entire societal broad context. So your continued education programs, your business skills that enables you to grow. In PwC, for example, we've got what we call the PwC professional. And that's really what makes you a professional that exhibits excellence and runs on 5 key attributes. And number 1 is about your whole leadership. How you are able to lead yourself and lead others towards achieving, a goal, set goals, and value for clients and our people. And there's also the technical and digital. And so employing, new technologies, based also anchored on your technical capabilities, you are able to thrive in a changing environment and be able to offer that superlative value to your environment and society at large. And also that business acumen. And so there are also tools to build your business acumen, your ability to understand business and use your understanding of business within the context of the business itself, the industry in which that business is situated, and to be able to add that value to your client and deliver value to society at large. In PwC, we believe that our purpose is to solve important problems. Our purpose is to build trust, and so in building that trust, there's a whole lot of programs, training, development opportunities available for that person to build that. And then, of course, understanding that you require global acumen to be able to apply the simple attitude within the global context, that you can actually thrive in any environment, and then bringing in the fact that you are inclusive, you can work in any environment, and ensure that you actually providing such value. Relationships building, of course, there are several tools that you can use or several training that you can use to build relationships and add value to your clients. So yes, generally the accountant will always remain relevant as long as you use continuous development. You continue to expand your scope to keep adding value to yourself.
Interesting. I love all you said about PwC doing this. You have to be deliberate about it. And because, mentors are available at all stages of the leadership life. whether at the first stage of their entering the firm, the early, the middle, and the late stage. So they have to seek out and listen and absorb the knowledge and then use it. Interesting. Well done to PwC for that. So before we go on a break, I just want to ask this particular question, because apart from the styles that you have mentioned, the techniques, there are some techniques that are known to help in shaping the skills of professionals. Could you please run us through some of those leadership trainings and mentorship techniques, apart from the ones that you have mentioned, that everyone can adopt, even a small firm or even anyone can adopt?
I mean, there are quite a number of techniques, and a lot of the ones that I've seen really are things that are on site. I mean, simple, something as basic as on-the-job training, right? You have someone who is working on the job, it gives you an opportunity to coach, right? And coaching is quite key in any development program, and you require somebody who is sufficiently understanding. Put yourself in another person's shoes, recognize that you were not like this, you all also had a beginning. And so that empathy, recognizing that somebody needs to be developed, gives you that, commitment to, an interest in other people's development. So you're in a job, you're not just going in and then, you've given an assignment and then get it done. But that person needs to be developed. And one way is on the job. And that person uses the experience and use the experience to then train. Of course, there are other techniques, classroom and all of that. But a whole lot of the times, people would say that your learning is actually informed by a combination of the things you hear, the things you see, and the things you do. And so that engagement, involvement, and all of that becomes quite important in how you make this work. So there are other things, putting people in, in different scenarios where you role play, where you give people opportunity to intern, you send people on secondment. We have the opportunity to second people. And so you're not just, you're not just within one environment or one confine. You learn how other people do things. And the fact that you actually go to clients, you learn different cultures. You learn to respect that and appreciate the fact that there are different cultures existing within different boundaries, within different industries. You have the opportunity to move around where you have rounded experience. All of that for me, and within the practicality of the experiences shown, are things that you can learn from. And of course, there's the peer-to-peer, learning. You can be an apprentice, even beyond, professional circles. You're just an accountant. I mean, I chair the corporate re-engineering and insolvency faculty of ICAN, and we do certification training and induction. And in the process, people are saying, I've gotten this certificate, so what do I do with it? How do I start it? How do I build these skills and competence? One of the things I say to them is, find somewhere you can learn, you can intern, you can collaborate, you can work with other people, learn from those who have grown and who have those opportunities, and work with them. In that way, you're building your experience. And this might just be the skill area, but then a whole lot more about being intentional is to go beyond the technical skills development, in actually developing the soft skills and your ability to apply yourself and work in an organization. Sometimes you're given scenarios, and a whole lot of it would grow as you use feedback. As you are given feedback, you learn from your feedback. You have clear opportunities within the organization to get, to monitor your progress and ensure that you are actually building more on those skills.
Thank you. So in summary, just make someone else more successful than you, because that's what great leaders do. Thank you very much, Mr. Cyril. We'd like to go on a commercial break and we'll be right back. Remember that we're taking all your questions. We have Mr. Cyril Azodo, a partner with PwC Nigeria, and he's here to take all those questions that you have about mentoring and all about leadership. So we'll go on the break and we'll be right back.
As a finance professional in a disrupted business landscape, what does it take to be in demand? What does it take to attract great paying international roles? If you're an ICAN member, it'll just take one exam. That's all it takes to complete the globally recognized CIMA professional qualification and the internationally respected CGMA designation. As a SEMA member and a CGMA designation holder, employers will look at you as a finance professional, constantly acquiring new skills to add value to the business. That's why they'll be willing to pay premium to hire and retain you. If you have 5 years of relevant experience and are an ICAN member, you can directly sit for the final exam of the SEMA Professional Qualification, the Strategic Case Study exam. Start studying the SEMA Professional Qualification. Prepare to make an impact.
You're welcome back to Icon on Air, and we have Mr. Cyril Azobo, FCA, in the studio. He's a partner with PwC Nigeria, and we're discussing leadership and mentoring for professional excellence. So you're welcome back, Mr. Cyril.
Thank you very much. Thank you for me.
Thank you so much for nurturing us with those wise words this evening. So as a business leader and also a leadership coach of reputable standing, how true is the assertion that right leaders and right mentors are very scarce or perhaps not even easy to come by?
Well, I think I'm not so much in agreement with that. I think you can find right leaders, and I don't mean to make it, that you can, they're easy to find, but they are available and they are out there. It's just that there's not so much sufficient conscious development of those leaders, and everybody has that potential. And as long as we continue to apply ourselves and be conscious about leadership development, we will definitely find there are people who have it. Maybe what I would like to, rephrase my answer would be those who have leadership potential are not really difficult to find. I think it's just ensuring that we have the right people who are directing them in the right place and in the right way to ensure that they build those skills, because leadership, it evolves. It's not, you can't, I'm not even sure whether you would say that this is the point where this is the way we're going. You just get better. And I think that you can find them. The only thing is that we don't really have them so much, maybe in the public gear, but they exist. And I think if you then begin to cascade that to, the political scene, you then wonder, do we have a dearth of leaders out there? But I think that they are not hard to find. The profession offers opportunity for leaders, and they are bound. And I believe that within the context of the work and my work environment, we have right leaders. And I'm sure there are a whole lot of other organizations that have right leaders. But the question is, to what extent do these right leaders come in the public gear? And that is why we may then, have the issue that right leaders are hard to find. And maybe we need to situate my answer within the context of, different walks of life. So would you find them in private sector? Would you find them in public sector? Would you find them in this industry or that industry? I believe that every organization that is forward-looking, every organization that understands what they are doing is focused on leadership development. And I think that is where the problem is, because we have not seen a lot more focus, maybe in the public gear. It may be in terms of leadership development from a political perspective. How do we develop political leaders other than just appointing people on the basis of, you've been loyal to me and all of that? And I think there has to be clear-cut developmental process for our political leaders. And that is why, because we always see things out there, but it doesn't mean that there are a lot of business owners, business people who actually been successful in business, and they've actually built leadership skills, and they raised a lot of very sound leaders. But the question is, are they the kind of people we'll find out there? What dictates the tune? What dictates the context in which leadership is practiced or pushed? If somebody says, okay, well, even if I say I'm a good leader, for example, and I'm in the context of the political environment, right, and I am working with that within that context, how much of a leader can you really see in me based on the environment in which I now find myself? Am I likely to be the same kind of leader that I am at right now within the PwC, where I have the structures, the systems, the processes, everything is in favor of me excelling as a leader, and I go somewhere else where I may not have as much support? So it's not about the leaders, it's about the system, it's about the context in which that leader operates. Am I likely to be as effective as I am right now within the context that I am? And I think that is where the issue is, right? There are a lot of people who are good leaders, but the environment in which they operate may not have enabled them to thrive in that
Yeah.
being good leaders. Yeah.
I may not even let them be visible enough for everyone to know and see. Interesting.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Right. Let me just speak on that. I've worked with different institutions, and including government institutions. You find a lot of very sound minds, in government circles, right? And I'm wondering, okay, so if we have these, so why do we have problem in the bigger space? You've got sound minds and people even in government circles that are working for some of these big institutions. The question is, why isn't these things, why aren't these things rather, showing forth in the bigger space? So I think we have good leaders, but I am not sure whether they are operating within an environment that allows them to demonstrate such profound leadership skills.
Interesting. Thank you so much. I'd like to recognize some of our audience here. Sunny Abdukarim from Dala Inland Dry Port, Kano. We say hello and thank you for joining us. Simon Edo Gabriel from Nasarawa State. We see Onyema Emmanuel Fagbola Timitope from Ibadan. We see Adeyinka Ogurumbi from Abuja. Thank you so much. Ismail Yusuf, Adeyinka Ogurumbi, Mukola Oloko Kayode, Luke Akmitaye. We say thank you so much. So share your questions. We do have a lot of questions already from the audience, but before I address any of the audience questions, I would like to address something, or perhaps ask Mr. Cyril. In the past couple of years, Nigeria has actually witnessed serious value system decay. It's obvious. And I know that you have the data and you're also a knowledge coach. Is there a correlation between the values that many Nigerians actually exhibit today and the quality of leadership and mentoring that they got as individuals and as a society? Can we put that together?
Absolutely, there is a correlation. I mean, you can't you get people say you get the leaders that you deserve, and I think to the extent that there's no clear cut. So mentorship, leadership, like I said, intentionality is key. And if we are not deliberate about these, particularly building that within the context of the larger society, we're not likely to get better. Every person you find out there, comes from a space, a sphere, and beyond just skills and attributes. You can have the skills, but when your values are warped, don't forget leadership speaks to aptitude, attitude, and values underpinned by strong values. If the values are eroded, then leadership is lacking. And I think that our value system as a nation needs some relooking into. And if it doesn't flow, and let's think about it. If you want to talk about a society and you're situating within the context of the political environment, there has to be something from the top. If the person at the top is not pushing the right values or role modeling the right behaviors and leading that, you're not likely to find that exhibited at the lower levels. And so if you get the wrong people to the top, and of course the same wrong people come from the same society where things are corrupt. And so for me, is a lack of clear leadership may have just been the culprit in the current situation within the society. And there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done to correct that position. And you can take it to anywhere from the family to even the religious, sectors. It boils down to What are the values that are being pushed? And if the values are not right, you can't expect that the leadership that you get is right. And you have to be deliberate about it. And it all begins with the person at the top.
Thank you. So I see a question from the audience. Shosanolu Olusoji. He says, "Sir, do you subscribe to a prospective public leader going through leadership mentorship before assuming a political space?"
Absolutely. In fact, that is what we need. That is what we need. It's not just mentorship about becoming a politician. I mean, a lot of people who understudy other politicians, right? But if you want to be a leader, I mean, in certain other countries, there are criteria that are defined, and those criteria are not defined within how many political words can you deliver, how many states can you deliver. It's about your person, it's about who you are. And I think that leadership development is key. Maybe one way to start is the current leaders, and those in politics, and each party must maybe come up with a plan. What plan do you have to develop real leaders within your, not just political leaders, but real leaders who are strong in character, leaders who have been proven to have integrity, leaders who are accountable. For me, those are the key things. It's not just leaders who can deliver on promises per se. Yeah. I mean, yes, you have promises, but leaders whose personal attributes are key. And for me, that has to be pushed at the very grassroots level, at the political level, before you can aspire to be a local government chairman, before you can aspire to be a party leader. You must have certain qualities, and these qualities have to be defined. And the people who are defining these qualities in themselves are people who subscribe to these behaviors, who subscribe to these, to these attributes, and such that once we start to see the emergence of good quality leaders at those grassroots level, it will definitely filter up into our political terrain. Yes, I agree.
I hope our leaders are listening, because yes, we need you to be scrutinized or perhaps go through this school of leadership and mentoring before you become who you are today. Yeah? So Mr. Cyril says so. And I got someone speaking in the affirmative here. Oka Miogu Paul, he says, "I absolutely agree with you that leaders abound, but not in the public glare." Thanks for that statement. So I just want to say thank you, Ajayi Oladipupo, for streaming live from Egbeda, and also Mukta Musa Bako from Abuja. We see you. Oma NS Chukun Naru has a question, and he says, "Sir, in the ever dynamic workspaces and emergence of newer definition of work roles and workspaces, what leadership style suits this emerging changing dynamics of this age?" Age. I don't know if it means the Gen Z, but you can put that together.
Thank you. I actually did mention a few leadership styles, and I think the one I would like to subscribe to most, and particularly in this ever-changing world, is transformational leadership. It begins with a leader who can look deeper into the future, a leader who is future thinking, and a leader who thinks about change, constant change, and is able to apply himself and is able to envision. So how do I respond to this change, right? You're looking at mega trends. You're looking at the things that are shaping the world that we are in today. And if you're not changing and you're not dynamic with it, you will soon fizzle out. And so that style of leadership looks at, so this is what the future holds. This is what I see coming. And therefore, how can I adapt? How can I build capabilities that would respond to the coming changes? How do I ensure that I transform myself? So things around adaptability, resilience, and building such skills amongst leaders, would be critical in making you survive, and your understanding of the people you work with. Because again, one of the things that differentiates between a leader and a mentor, which is a leader looks at the organizational goals, it looks at goals is set, and is able to, direct, inspire, motivate employees to achieve that goal. So it's that organizational goal focused. But a transformational leader looks beyond that, because he embraces mentorship that looks at the individual, because you need people to deliver those ambitious goals. You need people to deliver on those goals. So a transformational leader is also thinking about how his employees can adapt to change and how the people he is leading are also developing. He sees potential within those individuals and is also working within those individuals or within his employee or within the people he's leading to prepare for change and adapt to that change. For me, I think transformational leadership is quite critical in our generation now today. And when you ask a number of CEOs today globally, they actually put that in the fore about transformational leadership in this very massive changing business world or world that we find ourselves in today.
Thank you. And I see from Miss Dr. Olisa Agbakoba San, he said, I recommend our leaders to read Coming of the New Deal and how FDR turned the US out of depression by uncommon transformational leadership. Thank you so much, Dr. Agbakoba. It's great to have you in the join us today. Amat Jauro, he says, what key qualities do you believe are essential for effective leadership, and how do you cultivate and exemplify these qualities in your own leadership style?
I think first, a leader must be visionary. If you're not vision focused, and that is what is important, your focus is key and your ability to look beyond the now. So I've talked about transformational leadership. So your quality of being able to view things afar off and be able to interpret the times and say, what does that mean for me? And I think that the other quality I think of a good leader would be someone who is able to translate his vision, such that every other person understands it. Your ability to communicate is key. Your ability to reach out, your ability to say, how do I convey this vision? A lot of people who have good vision, they know where they are going, but every other person is lost. So you are the one going, you're the only one in front, but you're not carrying everyone along. So you lack the ability to communicate your vision to people in such a way that they understand where you're going and they get that buy-in. And so you're not beyond your beyond your communication skills and ability, you also must be collaborative and be able to carry people along. You must be able to understand the need for people to flow with you and get that buy-in to be able to achieve that goal. And I think that a leader, beyond just being a leader, should be somebody who listens, somebody who is able to consult, somebody who is able to and taking ideas so you can't go your own way. So you're embracing different skills here and there from different people, and then you are reinventing yourself. You must be that flexible to adapt. You must be someone who is able to continue to reinvent yourself and make yourself fit for every purpose and be able to adapt to every other purpose. You can talk about several other skills that has to do with your person, your integrity, how you respond to matters, your own personal values, aligning to organizational values. You're not just putting things there and say, these are the kind of things we like to do. Your values are not what you like to. Your values begin from you. And so you actually dictate the values or the culture of that organization. So the culture starts with you. So you must be somebody who role models. You must be somebody who is able to say, if this is what I want, I must be able to show it. You must be a leader by example. You must be able to lead from the front and then ensure that people follow your example. And if you're not like that, you're not likely to be a good leader.
Absolutely, yes. So, I mean, talking about the public space, Dr. Olisa Agbakoba San also mentioned transformational leadership bring about changes we can see. Whatever we say of Wike, go see what he's doing at FCT. Well, that's about what the audience can see in Abuja. Bolaji Osho, he says, can we conclude that the pressure for basic sustenance, particularly in Nigeria of today, could be a major conundrum for willing mentors, leaders? Could it also be a killer of mentees' consciousness for mentorship, Senator?
So that's a very interesting question, really, because if you have great values, you cannot blame your behavior on the situation of the things today. A leader will always be a leader, regardless. A leader will always behave right, regardless. I cannot use the excuse of the pressure we face today and not do things right. And I think for me, that is what makes a leader different. You are a leader because in spite of the pressure, you remain a leader. The pressure doesn't change you, but you are the one that dictates what happens around you. And even in your small space, you need that leadership. You can't continue to excuse things away and say, because everybody is this is what is happening, you can't beat them, join them. Be that transformative leader. Be that leader that changes things. That's what makes you a leader. You cannot say you're a leader and you're not able to influence or impact the environment you live in. So there's no excuse, and leaders would always be leaders regardless of the situation of things.
Sir, so assuming President Bola Ahmed Tinubu calls you to briefly speak to his Federal Executive Council members on practical steps that would actually further improve professional excellence, or perhaps true leadership and mentorship, tell your global viewers as we speak now some of the points that you'd present in your slides. Just in 1 minute, sir.
Okay, so the first thing I've already said, you need to develop leadership development program. You need to do that. You may, of course, you expect people who will hit the ground running, right? You expect people who you appoint into your cabinet to hit the ground running. And I reckon that you'll have gone through a process to determine who are the people I bring on board. But I think that ensuring that continuity and constant feedback and constant realignment with what is your set goal, what are the things that you're looking towards, and delivering on that, those are critical for me. And I think we need people who are empathetic enough, and people who are not just patriotic, but empathetic enough to understand the environment that they serve and be realistic in terms of how they address the matters on ground. Sometimes strict knowledge might be useful. It's not all the time that we bring in, the business, school ideas, the Harvard ideas, and all of that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the things we face today may have defied all of those things we learned in business school. It may just be common sense. It may be street smartness, right? And how do we then employ that in such a way that we are able to use that to solve the problems of today? So real thinkers and people that are really focused on addressing the matters that we have, the issues that we have today on a pragmatic basis are critical for us to move on. I think my 1 minute is gone.
Thank you so much, sir. But I also know that we have knowledge gap even within the professional accountancy profession. And we always like to build capacity and professional excellence. So maybe in less than 1 minute, you can tell us how we can fill that knowledge gap, especially when it comes to building capacity, being the mentor of tomorrow, even in today's economic issues. Yeah. With all of the things happening, yes.
I realized that you actually did mention that there is a mentorship program within the institute. Yeah. And I am not sure how well that has worked. I know that I have been approached, so my friend is in the background, and he's usually would get us to talk about, how can we support the institute and provide mentorship. I haven't seen anyone assigned to me yet, because I'm saying it has to be intentional. If we don't drive that intentionality, is just a good buzzword and things we just speak in the air. We have to have somebody who holds that program and provides the necessary structures and systems and processes that make it work. And yes, otherwise it would just be nice to have. There has to be that intentionality to make it work.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cyril. We truly, truly appreciate you coming into for the program today. And I've gotten approval to say this is just part 1. Episode 2 will come soon with the same Mr. Cyril. Tell us everything about leadership, mentorship, even coaching, anything whatsoever that we need to become excellent even in our profession. Thank you so much, sir. And remember that we have the Young Accountant Development Committee. We'll call you very soon to mentor them. Thank you so much, and we truly appreciate you on the program today.
Thank you for me. Appreciate it.
All right. So I'd like to take a couple of announcements. I hope you all had an insightful discussion with Mr. Cyril today. Thank you very much for joining us. A couple of announcements. We have the annual dinner and awards program coming up on the 4th of May 2024. Nominations are still open for Young Accountants Award 2024 at the annual dinner and award ceremony. So you can reach out to the Institute for more details. The fellowship conferment ends April 29, 2024, 12 more days to go, and the amount is 175,000 naira, 11 a.m. at Abba Point. And ICT conference, Digital Economy, Navigating the New Frontiers. It's a virtual training, April 29, 2024. Please reach out to the Institute for all of these packages that we have for you. Once again, we want to say thank you so much for being part of today's topic. The topic, Leadership and Mentorship for Professional Excellence with Mr. Cyril Azobo, FCA, the partner PwC Nigeria. So next week, we'll have an interesting session with you again. We hope that you'll be here on ICAN on Air, 6 p.m., same time as usual. Thank you so much for being part of the Institute's program. My name remains Fumi Olani. Do have yourself a restful evening. Thank you.